Okay, just a little bit more about notebooks before we move on. You'll see here, in order to be counted, all notes must be fully legible, the pages numbered, and notes developed in such a way that content, organization, and dating are plainly evident. Like I said, you make your notes the way that you want to, the way that you need to. But that said, I need to be able to access them easily. So please make sure that they are formatted clearly and consistently. How's that? Now, essays. I I like to structure my course as an exploration of kind of new media, and because of that, I think that the definition of what an essay is changing, and it's certainly changing for me, and it's certainly changing within the context of my class. It's entirely possible that you will be required to write a straight up paper. You may be required to write a series of papers. However, in terms of what I actually count as an essay, that may be a combination of papers and some other things. There may be some presentation stuff, there may be other projects, there may be alternatives of your choosing to kind of writing that traditional essay. If we take a look down here, extra essay credit. Now, I don't give out extra credit very often, and I very, very, very rarely give extra credit out to individuals. I will normally give out extra credit to a class for a voluntary activity for anybody who chooses to do it. Okay. With the essay extra credit, let's take a look at this. For an additional 10 points per essay, you might choose to argue against yourself. Provide a single complete page thoroughly outlining your specific position on an issue and the ideological bases you have come to recognize as influencing these beliefs. We're going to talk about ideologies in class. We're going to kind of try to break down some of our own ideological backgrounds. We're going to figure out what ideology is, what the definition of that term is. So you're going to be prepared to do this. The rest of the essay must then be dedicated to arguing against that established set of beliefs in some significant, specific, well-organized way. All this considered, it is highly recommended that you keep accurate, thorough, up-to-date notes. And when you do keep those notes, what happens is that also counts toward your requirement for your notebook grade. It counts toward the page requirement. So even if you do miss a day, or if you want kind of a score above and beyond just having completed that notebook, taking notes and kind of working on your papers in your notebooks is actually going to benefit you grade-wise. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. But if we take a look here, this particular essay extra credit, what you can do is essentially you write a page outlining what you believe and why, and then in the essay proper, however that is developed, you then go about arguing a different point of view, a different perspective. And what this does is it forces you outside of your own comfort zone. It forces you to kind of take different points of view into consideration. And so I'll give you extra credit for that, and that's 10 points, and 10 points on a 100-page paper is a full grade. So please keep that in mind. Quizzes, homework, and other stuff. I don't know what may end up kind of coming up over the course of a semester. I am always retaining the right to change our syllabus and to change what we're doing and how we're doing it. And a lot of this is experiment. And it's supposed to be, I want it to be. Because I think that if we can experiment as a class, if we can kind of experiment with how we interact with media, with the media that we're exposed to every day, and we can kind of play around with that, I think we can get a better lock on kind of controlling that relationship. And that's what I want to have happen here, is I want you, again, to be better thinkers. I want you all to be better thinkers, and better thinkers with the commensurate objective of being able to kind of navigate media, because there's a lot of media out there, and it's hitting us from every angle, and there are more and more kinds all the time, and so I want us to be able to deal with that. And that a lot of this, again, kind of goes back to that. So then, talking about class participation, when I say that I have a student-driven course, what I mean is I want the majority of the thought work in a class. I want the majority of the talking. I want the majority of the ideas. I want the majority of the original content to come from you. I want it to be in response to the things that you're reading, the media that you're digesting, and the other things that are going on in class, the other things that are being said. So it is contingent on you as a participant in this course to make sure that you're not too afraid to actually participate, that you're willing to open your mouth and actually say something, because, shared knowledge is expanded knowledge. And if we take a look at some of the bullets here, full participation in all class discussions, and I'm not going to take that to any sort of extreme. If you can't equally participate in discussion every single day, if you have an off day or something like that, that's fine. We're all human. But there's going to be a big difference between the student who comes in and contributes consistently versus the student who comes in and contributes occasionally versus the student who comes in and doesn't contribute at all. So please do make sure that you're contributing in class. Completing all assigned readings, intelligently or respectfully participating in discussion. By the way, when I say readings, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be looking at is not just going to be restricted to reading. There may be other forms of media, as I've talked about before. Intelligently and respectfully participating in discussion and activities on the course website, Facebook page, Twitter stream, or whatever piece of technology we happen to be using. Acting with politeness and consideration. Not being a butthead. Participating fully in conferences and any other review activities. So coming to conferences, because conferences are another kind of big thing with a lot of my sections, and especially if they're required, then you have to make sure that you come out for those conferences, and it's important that you're prepared for those conferences. And we're going to talk more about conferences in class, but they're also a big component of this course, or at least chances are, considering the section. Let's see, behaving appropriately, respectably, and professionally, and that's all fine. Okay, so there's a section here for English majors. If you go to GSU, you can just read through this. Otherwise, I'm not going to take any time for it. Now I want to talk, though, about grading. And if we take a look here. Now, this section over here, what we have, not so much the square here, but just this. Let's see what we have here. Essays and other sums will be evaluated based on the domain scoring guide. So I'm going to talk to you about the domain scoring guide, but you're going to be graded based on, generally, focus, content, organization, engagement, and conventions. As you're going through the addendum, look for that chart that talks about those things: focus, content, organization, engagement, and conventions. All right, and you're going to see that chart, and everything's going to be laid out. I'll talk about that more later, but that's how you're going to be graded. So please make sure you familiarize yourself with that resource, as it says here. I'm not going to mark every single area that I see, but you are going to get various forms of feedback. You're going to get marginal notes. You're going to get feedback based on the domain scoring guide, and a lot of the time, I'll also include some final notes. So please make sure. One of the kind of big things that I worry about, one of the things that I have to face is a lot of the time I wonder, do students necessarily get the benefits from me grading their papers? Are they actually reading those comments? Please make sure that you are, because if you do read those comments, you give yourself so much better of a chance of actually fixing the problems that you need to fix, getting a better score with your next assignment, and therefore getting a better score overall.